You wake up and reach for your phone without thinking. You take the same route to work, grab your usual coffee, scroll through social media at the same times every day, and end your night in the same way you always do. You don't plan these actions, they just happen automatically. This is the power of habits. They shape your choices, direct your behavior, and determine your success or failure, often without you even realizing it. Most people believe that major life changes come from big decisions. In reality, your life is shaped far more by small, repeated actions than by single, dramatic choices. The way you think, the way you work, the way you react to stress, the way you handle relationships, all of it is built on habits that you've repeated so often that they feel like part of who you are. First, habits form because your brain is designed to save energy. Every action you take requires mental effort, and the more decisions you make, the more mentally exhausted you become. Your brain solves this problem by turning repeated behaviors into automatic patterns, so you don't have to think about them. This is why you don't have to actively decide how to tie your shoes or brush your teeth, you just do it. Second, every habit follows the same psychological pattern: cue, routine, reward. The cue is the trigger that starts the habit, the routine is the action itself, and the reward is what reinforces it. If you check your phone every time you're bored, boredom is the cue, checking your phone is the routine, and the brief distraction you get is the reward. Over time, this cycle trains your brain to repeat the behavior automatically. First, the reason bad habits are so hard to break is because they create immediate rewards, while good habits often have delayed rewards. Junk food gives instant pleasure, but exercise takes weeks to show results. Social media provides quick dopamine hits, while deep work requires effort before payoff. The brain is wired to prioritize short-term rewards, which is why bad habits often feel so much easier to stick with than good ones. Second, the secret to breaking bad habits isn't willpower, it's changing the cues and rewards. If you always snack while watching TV, the TV is the cue. If you want to stop snacking, you need to either change the cue, stop watching TV in the same place, or change the reward, switch to a different activity that gives you satisfaction. Most people fail to break habits because they focus only on stopping the behavior instead of rewiring the entire habit loop. First, building powerful habits isn't about making huge changes, it's about making small improvements consistently. If you get just 1% better every day, the difference compounds over time. This is why someone who starts reading just 10 pages a day ends up finishing over 15 books a year, while someone who doesn't read at all stays in the same place. Second, the reason most people fail to stick to habits is because they rely on motivation instead of systems. Motivation is unreliable, it comes and goes. But systems, once in place, work automatically. If you want to wake up earlier, don't rely on sheer willpower. Create a system where your alarm is across the room and your phone is out of reach. If you want to eat healthier, don't just promise yourself you'll eat better. Make it impossible to reach for junk food by only stocking healthy options at home. First, habits aren't just about what you do, they're about who you become. If you see yourself as someone who is trying to exercise, you'll struggle to stay consistent. But if you shift your identity to, I am the kind of person who never skips a workout, your actions will follow. The most powerful way to change a habit is to change the way you see yourself. Second, small habits don't just make you better at something, they create momentum for bigger changes. The hardest part of working out isn't the workout itself, it's putting on your shoes and getting out the door. The hardest part of writing a book isn't the writing, it's opening the document and typing the first sentence. If you make habits ridiculously easy at the start, they naturally grow over time. Instead of setting a goal to read for an hour, start with read 1 page. Instead of go to the gym for an hour, start with do 1 push-up. The action itself is small, but it signals to your brain, this is who I am now. First, the way to make habits stick permanently is by tying them to your identity and environment. If you want to become a runner, leave your running shoes by the door. If you want to read more, place books where you can see them instead of your phone. Your habits aren't just about willpower. They are a reflection of the environment you create around yourself. Second, bad habits don't just fade away, they need to be actively replaced. If you remove a bad habit without replacing it, your brain will crave something to fill the gap. If you want to stop snacking, replace it with drinking tea. If you want to stop checking social media, replace it with journaling. Every habit needs a substitute behavior that still provides some form of reward. First, the most successful people in any field aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are simply the ones with the most effective daily habits. A successful writer doesn't write a book in one night, they write every day. A top athlete doesn't suddenly become fit, they train daily. The life you live is simply the result of the habits you have repeated the most. Second, if you want to transform your life, don't start with a huge goal, start with a small habit you can stick with. A single small habit, repeated consistently, will change the trajectory of your future in ways you can't even imagine. The key isn't perfection, it's never stopping. First, the secret to making habits effortless is by designing your life in a way where the right choices are the easiest choices. If you want to eat healthier, don't rely on willpower. Make junk food unavailable and healthy food convenient. If you want to write more, set up your workspace so that writing is the easiest thing to do when you sit down. The less resistance a habit has, the more likely it is to stick. Second, habits aren't just actions, they are the invisible architecture of your life. Every small decision you make adds up, and over time, those decisions shape your future. The most powerful realization is that you are always building habits, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are your habits building the life you want, or are they keeping you stuck? The power of habits isn't in dramatic overnight changes. It's in the small, invisible choices you make every single day. Once you take control of your habits, you take control of your entire life. Now, do you want me to create another script from a different category?